Good morning and welcome back to News and Views. My name is Uma Malulua and I have been your host for the past hour and a half. We have had absolutely amazing conversations. We spoke about the Antarctic 5, we spoke about fitness, and now we're getting into a more news kind of vibe. Um, today's story we will be talking about Palestine. I think it's at the top of our tongues, the top of our minds constantly, and when we see things that break our hearts, really, and we see things that are not for Palestine in our country, it becomes a bit of an issue. A coalition of pro Palestinian organizations led by the Palestine Solidarity Campaign have issued a strong public statement accusing SANBI and Kirstenbosch Botanical Gardens of violating constitutional and ethical values. This follows SANBI's decision to allow a concert by David Scott, also known as the Kiffness, at Kirstenbosch, a state-funded public venue. The organizations argue that while David Scott has the right to free speech, the state does not have a duty to platform or fund speech they say promotes division, Islamophobia, and harm, particularly in the context of Gaza. They say SANBI's decision contradicts its own values of Ubuntu, respect, accountability, and transformation. Now, with all of this being said, we are in conversation with Professor Usuf Chikte, who will be giving us more insight on the situation and where to from here. Welcome to the show, Professor. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having us here and providing us an opportunity to give our side of the story in what is clearly South
I'm not
Africa.
sure if you have Professor with us. Professor, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
All right, while we wait for Professor to...
For too many communities across Africa and the world, access to clean water remains a dream. At African Muslims Agency, we dig deep, reaching into the heart of the earth to fill the cups of those in need. Sponsor a water well for only 16,500 Rand or a borehole for 65,000 Rand in Africa or Afghanistan. With water comes food, health, education, and growth. Give water, give life with Africa Muslims Agency.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
We are back. Welcome back. We are in conversation with Professor Usuf Chikte with regards to a bit of an unrest that is going on with regards to a concert being held at the Kirstenbosch Botanical Gardens by a performer who is particularly pro-Israeli. And this has caused a bit of a ruffle in the community, considering that South Africa is a pro-Palestinian state. I am joined again by Professor Usuf. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Perfectly fine.
Thank you. I'm on my phone now. I'm sorry about the earlier inability of us to connect. So, yes, it was what we're witnessing in South Africa is very important. We have a crossroads in terms of our international standing, in terms of the constitution that was accepted almost 30 years ago, and that constitution is being undermined. What we're witnessing is an intersection of an international agenda, a local cohort, an international agenda of MAGA, of a Trump agenda, of a right-wing fascist movement, trying to establish a foothold globally and influencing South Africa's decisions in terms of foreign policy, in terms of how we govern ourselves. We have a local branch of that MAGA movement, a rising and resurgent apartheid movement, a MAGA movement. We call it a Make Apartheid Again movement in South Africa. And we have the influence of Zionism in ensuring that there is a resurgence and that the gains that we've made in terms of equality, in terms of non-racialism, in terms of non-sexism, in terms of religious tolerance, in terms of fostering peace and harmony is being undermined. And they've grabbed hold, and what we've witnessed in Cape Town is the utilization of a public platform to promote artists, to foment religious intolerance, Islamophobia, apartheid, and genocide denialism. And we have appealed, and this has taken the form of a concert which in Cape Town, which is held regularly and annually, the Kirstenbosch concerts under the auspices of SANBI, South African National Biodiversity Institute, which falls under the Department of Environmental Affairs, Fisheries and Forestry. They are providing a platform for a right-wing group influenced by America and getting the political inspiration from that part of the world. And we are opposing that. We have opposed that. We've asked them that, we've said that this group, as Kiffness, has every right to perform and to sing and express their artistic opinions wherever and whenever they want to, but they must do it within the Constitution, firstly, and secondly, we cannot allow them to provide them a platform when they verge into the terrain of Islamophobia, apartheid, hate speech, and the fomentation of religious intolerance in a nation that we're trying to build. It goes against our Constitution. It goes against the values that we have as South Africans. And that is why we have approached SANBI, the South African National Biodiversity Institute, to deplatform this group from a Kirstenbosch concert. The Minister Oukamp has denied us and has not assented to doing that, and we think it's a failure of our constitutional mandate in terms of peace and harmony. It's a failure of stewardship on the part of the minister to use our historical places, not in the furtherance of the Constitution, but the very antithesis of that. It's also a failure of governance, institutional governance on the part of SANBI, whereby they don't have any criteria, whereby they select musicians to perform. All over the world we have criteria, and musicians are deplatformed as if they step over the line in terms of hate speech and offensive and racist comments. So what we are saying is, and because the Minister Oukamp and SANBI have declined to deplatform us, and not only declined, but they've declined to provide us with a platform to protest within Kirstenbosch, but they've allowed this group to spew their hatred. And if you look at this group, Islamophobia is Islamophobic, homophobic, and if you look at this group, it is they were supported by the South African Zionist Federation, by the Embassy of Israel, by normally the right-wing groups in our society. They've also been supported by the likes of Basil Hershov, who's been hostile to the South African government in terms of its foreign policy and in terms of its strict adherence to the abolition of apartheid, to ensure that the legislation of apartheid is being enacted in its policies. So it's a resurgence of apartheid, and that is what we're protesting. We cannot allow this. We've made too many sacrifices for this kind of thing to continue. So we've appealed to the president, number one, to intervene, to ensure that SANBI and the Department of Fisheries and Environmental Affairs abides by the constitutional values, institutional values, and is a platform and is an avenue to promote social cohesion and inclusivity in our very divided society. So we've also appealed to the South African Human Rights Commission to take a stand against SANBI for not applying the values of the Constitution and not to use the national resources for the fomentation of the kinds of things that they do, especially in terms of the Islamophobic attacks. I'm just going to give you one example of an Islamophobic attack. They've been attacking Dr. Naledi Pandor, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, and Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool. And there's no a reason not criticizing these persons. But when it borders onto Islamophobia, that is where we draw the line. And they seem to use this Islamophobia and the words associated with it to divide South Africans as a digression from South Africa's stance, especially when it comes to Universal Declaration of Human Rights and its the interpretation of that in its foreign policy, whether it's in the Sudan, the Congo, Palestine, or anywhere else. An example of the militarization of the activities which they try to intimidate the protesters is if you look on their websites and if you look at the trolls that they spew on their X profile, you'll see images of them with guns, and which is very intimidating. But it doesn't scare us. But we need to be very sensible, and we're calling on the police to act against such kinds of activities which erodes our right to free speech and to free assembly, unarmed and peaceful. So that's another example that I'm using. In terms of its linkages with the American right-wing agenda, and the horrible things that are being done there, it's interesting that they use the same terms and terminology of religious divide as that comes out of the mega movement. And it's too horrible even to mention, but you can see it on their pages around that, and I don't want to repeat it to give them an amplification of it. But what I want to say is that it's shocking that and Bob Hertzog must answer this. Bob Hertzog has been listed allegedly in the social media pages on X, whereby his name has been in the black book of Epstein. And all the kinds of things associated with Epstein in terms of entrapping people and engaging in pro-right-wing kind of agendas. And Bob Hertzog must please explain what is his name doing there? Did he give it? What are those addresses, the 4 addresses or contact details, an address in London and some telephone numbers that appears on there? So we would like to know, because it seems to be an intersection between those activities that are taking place in America, holding politicians at ransom for them to spew a certain narrative, political narrative, which is Islamophobic and undermines the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and all kinds of things associated with it. So we'd like to explain that also. We're also saying if the South African, if the Israeli embassy in South Africa promotes these kinds of Islamophobic, apartheid, racist venom in South Africa, we want Cyril Ramaphosa to shut it down. We cannot allow it. There's also the Al Jazeera reports, which links the South African Zionist Federation to this, and the South African Zionist Federation as a group that has been infiltrated by Mossad, which then expresses, articulates, and amplifies a foreign agenda. But, our conduct is to pursue this via legal means in terms of the avenues available to us in the Constitution. So we've written to SANBI about this. We've written to the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Fisheries and Forestry. We've written to the Presidency, where we've appealed to him. We've written to the South African Human Rights Commission, and we've alerted Commissioner Chris Nissen about it. We've written to the Commission of Religious, Linguistic and Cultural Rights. And we are protesting tomorrow at Kirstenbosch, and we want answers from these in order to know our next steps. But it is a dangerous intersection for the country, where the gains that we've made in terms of democracy, in terms of equality, is being reversed by people in power, very wealthy individuals who want to retain that power and want to ensure that South Africa has sovereignty in terms of its foreign relations, in terms of the exercise of its constitution and the rights and obligations of its citizens, in terms of the right to protest and everything else that goes with it, is being undermined.
All right. Before we look back at everything that you have said, we will go on a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists, with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities, conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities. Your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
For too many communities across Africa and the world, access to clean water remains a dream. At African Muslims Agency, we dig deep, reaching into the heart of the earth to fill the cups of those in need. Sponsor a water well for only 16,500 Rand or a borehole for 65,000 Rand in Africa or Afghanistan. With water comes food, health, education, and growth. Give water, give life with Africa Muslims Agency.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, reservations. Call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Searching for elite local and international investment and advisory services from an award-winning firm? Look no further than the Belmont Mayer Group, your gateway to unparalleled investment and wealth management. At Belmont Mayer, we believe in the art of wealth creation, a meticulous process fueled by our unwavering commitment to excellence. With a focus on providing elite alternative investments and quality advice, we also pride ourselves on maximizing value for our esteemed investors, as seen through our consistent outperformance. Your financial success is our top priority. Join us at Belmont Mayer and experience the difference firsthand. Ready to embark on a journey of greatness? Contact us today. Reach out to the Belmont Mayer Group on 078 786 1698. Call or WhatsApp or email us at info@belmontmayer.com. Elevate your financial future with Belmont Mayer, where every detail matters.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good morning. My name is Umama Lulua, and today I am joining you on News and Views. We have spent the past couple of minutes talking to Professor Usuf Chikte on all things the Stellenbosch. We spoke about We were in conversation with Professor on the situation regarding having a concert that is totally against what South Africa stands for with regards to Islamophobia and our stance on Palestine in general. Professor, you gave us a great outlook on the situation, where we want to go from here, and what the PSC stand is on the situation. Now, while you spoke, you told us a little bit about your the protest that's going to be happening tomorrow. I want us to get a bit into that, but before that, I want to ask you that there are claims that peaceful protesters are being securitized and marginalized. Legally speaking, where does the state's duty lie when protests clash with public events?
Yeah, we are being harassed and hampered in the exercise of our right to protest, right to have a political expression, and a right to boycott certain things that we disagree with, which is within the DNA of the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa. Normally, we don't have a problem in the protest, but what has happened in this case is that the same opportunities provided to the musician hasn't been provided to us. There were also attempts on the part of Metro Police to hinder and hamper us and to intimidate us with this. And we've raised this matter with the South African Human Rights Council. The protest of the PSC and our pronouncements, we make sure that it is within the Gatherings Act and all the related acts. It's peaceful, it's unarmed, and it respects the rights of others as well. But that has come under attack more recently with lawfare campaigns as well, with slap suits as well. Slap suits are strategic litigation against public protest, whereby although those who bring about these slap suits have no basis on which to have a successful prosecution, but they keep us busy and try to cripple us and try to bankrupt us financially by keeping us busy in court when they embark on such slap suits. There's also a massive and a major and a well-funded media campaign to demonize the protesters, to racialize them in a manner which makes them, appear in the most negative stereotypes of Islamophobic rants, in terms of racist rants, especially within the South African caricaturing of racism in South Africa. And I don't want to repeat what they're saying and what they're doing about it. Its basis is racial supremacy, or the residual witbaaskap that we still have, that the Kiffness is highlighting, and is a media campaign around that. There's an intersection here between witbaaskap, between the AfriForum groups, between the right-wing groups, and an intersection between Herrenvolkism, the master race theory, and the intersection between Zionism, the supremacy within the nation-state laws within the Israeli state. So we have these kinds of things all flowing into one. And so demonization and the social media campaigns and the funds. I mean, Herzog went as far as to use expletives against, against the pro-Palestinian supporters. It's a right-wing agenda, and it's a right-wing agenda to portray South Africa as a failing country, as a banana republic, and although they benefit immensely and enormously, Kiffness had thousands of rands spent on him by the South African government during the COVID period. Herzog lives off his ill-gotten gains from his family, from our mineral wealth. Afrikanerdom in South Africa, the AfriForum, they've got billions of rand which they've extricated from the mining wealth of the country, and they use that against the constitution, the parts of the constitution in South Africa which ensures equality. They invent fake and mythical race laws. Some of them have even indicated that South Africa is a section of the South African population is under genocide, and they use the American government to punish South Africa in these false claims, and to reverse the constitutional gains that we've made in expressing an independent opinion internationally in terms of our foreign relations, and ensuring that we did redress the horrors of almost 400 years of colonialism, of segregation, of apartheid, and the continuation of that in South Africa. So these protests, they want to shackle us to reverse the gains that we've made, and we are making sure that we fight them on the streets, we fight them in the concerts, we fight them at the artistic level, and we fight them in the courts around that. We mustn't allow these gains to be eroded. The price of our freedom is eternal vigilance.
100%. I do hope that all of our Cape Town listeners will be joining the protest tomorrow. And we have unfortunately reached the end of the conversation. I have so much more to ask you and so much to talk about. But I thank you so much, Professor, for joining me and for enlightening myself and the viewers on the situation. It truly is an unfortunate set of events, and we do hope and pray that with the continued work of the PSC and other organizations, that we are able to see a change, and we're able to see the work that's being put in come to play. So thank you so much for joining me, and thank you to all of the listeners for joining in this segment. My name is Umama Muriledi, and this has been News and Views. Thank you.
Thank you, Umama.